So perfect. We talked about like why people like some product, but what are the reasons people don't like few products or people don't like using uh, products, some products? So again, let's have like 2-3 minutes of discussion, and then I'll share my thoughts. So we have now Nadia, Anwar, so Charan, so or Akshay can start. Akshay, if you have something to add. I hope this is fine, right? I mean, like, do you want to be this to be interactive, or you want to be like more of theory and just like one-sided?
Yeah, it's good actually. Interaction is better.
Okay, perfect, perfect, cool. So let's start with Akshay. If Akshay is not there, Anwar can go.
Manpreet,
Y-
my
Yeah,
hand is.
Pratik. Okay. Yeah.
It is more like to go with user mind. Means like there is called Jacob's law. You know that people
Hmm.
like similar products that they use. They don't go to the other products that they are not similar with. They are not familiar with.
Right.
So their mental model should be match with their task model and task flow.
Perfect.
Task flow
So
should
please
match
note
with.
down everybody. Please note down mental models. We'll talk about this in the future sessions. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Perfect.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks. Because nobody wants to learn, as I said, right? Theory X again. Nobody wants to put efforts. So that's one reason. So let's see, Anwar or Nida.
Yeah. So I want to add one thing about the experience. There must be the user experience was not good actually. Past
Hmm.
experience is not good, or user find something better at other place. That's why they don't like the product and all.
Hmm. Okay, cool, wonderful.
Okay,
So now
and
let's, yeah, Nida. Okay.
yeah, so some few products are like really confusing for the people, as someone said about Amazon. I totally agree that because you can't search properly, there's too much confusion, it's too much going on Amazon's, and
Hmm.
but because there is familiarity in Amazon, that's why people go more with Amazon. But yeah, it could improve a lot, I think.
Wonderful. Okay, cool. So now Afreen and then Ashish. If Afreen is not there, then Ashish can go.
Yeah, hi Manpreet.
Can I start?
Okay, someone else is. Yeah, please go ahead.
No, no, you Ashish, you continue. I mean, like,
Okay.
that's fine.
Okay.
So, you had the first question, why do you like, and now why do you don't like? So, I would say that, let's say, as a human being, if I
Mhm.
need or desire for a particular product or service, and when I say product, I mean Amazon for me is a product, right?
Hmm.
I would simply search for some options for that particular desire or that particular need, and basis that, if I, let's say, find a particular option, I will firstly experience basis my understanding about what you have been experienced earlier, and I'll compare this particular product or service with my previous experiences. And if
Hmm.
if if this particular experience of the product or service is better than or comparable, giving me more value for money, I would like it. And if it is other way around, I will not like it.
Hmm. Perfect. So that's also a good way of saying this. Perfect. That's good. Cool.
Good
So we'll
morning,
talk about these
everyone.
things in the future sessions. Okay, in detail. And so great. So yeah, Charan, please, and then Pragati.
Yeah, I feel, I guess the easy answer would be like just adding a word not for previous answer. So
Mhm.
it's just like if it's not useful, if it's not usable in that way.
Wonderful, wonderful. Good catch. Nice.
Yeah.
So who wants to go next?
So,
Yeah, Pragati. Yeah.
yes, good morning, everyone. Yeah, I feel like for like designing any user experience, we first need to empathize any product, like empathize the user needs
Hmm.
to understand the user trend and their thinking. Like we need to vision their thinking, like according to the user, the customer, so that will be
Hmm.
more like more good to go with the design while doing and while observing the things. Yeah.
Wonderful. So here you're talking about the users and understanding the context and those kind of things, right? So yes, I mean, so we'll talk about this thing in the future session. So it's basically understanding the users and then understanding their needs and then accordingly building the product. If you're not able to meet the needs, people will not use the product. So these are like the common, if these are the mismatch, if there is a mismatch, people will not use the product. So yeah, so that's why we do research. We try to understand users and then segment them. So basis their needs, and then we create personas and so on, right? So we'll try and understand that too in future sessions. Perfect. So now Akshay, let's hear Akshay, and then we'll move on to the next slide.
Okay, good morning, Rishi.
Good morning.
What I exactly found is that yeah, what I found that is the similar interaction pattern. Actually, people are familiar with the similar interaction pattern. If we try to change and improvise something different, then people won't be able to complete the task. And what matters the most is the limited task duration. If you are giving a user too much choices that are actually not related to the product, or he may be they may be finding something else, and on that basis if you are giving so much of choices, then definitely we are going to break the connection between a user and the product he is looking for. And
Yeah.
that's all what I think. Yeah. And
Wonderful.
yes, one more thing I would like to add is, yeah, limited complexity. What Tesla law says is that you have to make your product very simple so that people will be able to use it flawlessly.
Wonderful. Wonderful. So I mean, what I say here is that yes, your product should be easy to use, right? So that means even person who has like little sense should be able to use the product. If you can build a product for those kind of people also, I mean, like you'll be doing a good job, right? People will be able to use your product. So wonderful.
It's Narendra. Okay.
Yeah, Narendra,
So
please.
apart from UI UX, it's I think it's not always the fault of UI UX that a person is not using a product. I think sometimes the product is also pathetic. Like if we say, for example, it's a compression tool. Like it can compress my file. Its UI is good. Its UX is good. I came there for the first time. But if I want to compress a 1 GB folder, uh, and it gives me a 900 MB folder, what do I do with it? So sometimes the tool is also not, the product is also not made in a way that it is more useful. People get into that, they try to use it for the first time. The UX is good, the UI is good, but product itself is pathetic. So it could also be a
Hmm, hmm,
problem
hmm.
sometimes.
So yeah, I mean here, I mean like you raised this point, right? So basically from 1 GB to 900 MB. So the thing is that there are a few things which might not be technically feasible, right? Reducing the size from 1 GB to 900 MB. So here, the communication, UX writing will play a very important role.
Mhm.
Getting it? So some things which is not possible. I mean, in those cases, you as a UX designer working with the UX writer, you should try and communicate everything properly, clearly. That if you're compressing and let's say a movie or an image, then the compression will be only 10%. If you're compressing let's say document, then the compression can happen like let's say up to 20-25%, right? So your communication should be done in the best possible way.
Makes sense.
So, right. So that's why UX is not just about UI. It's about so many other things. It's also about the development. It's also about the interaction design. It's also about the understanding the real needs of the users and then building the product. So there are a lot of these things. Also understanding the information architecture, how to create the hierarchy, how to I mean create the customer journey or the user flows. There are a lot of these things that we as designers work on. Perfect. I think like we are good. So let me show you. I mean, these are not exhaustive list, but still like few things, right? So badly designed products make the users feel that the product is complicated and difficult to operate. Easy, right? I mean, like if it's not nicely done, people will take it as like complicated product and will not use, right? And also people already. I mean, in everybody's life, there's a lot of confusion and problems. So and nobody wants anything new product or anything adding to their confusion and frustration. So yeah, so if your product is bringing confusion, frustration, and anger, then yes, your product is not the right product. So stressful. So if your product or the user when using the product feels stressed, then you've done a very bad job. it's ugly looking. Nobody likes working or using a product which is not good looking, right? So I mean, like we as designers should try to make things which are beautiful, which are nicely designed. There should not be confusion. For I mean, like already there's a lot, as I said, right? Lot happening in everybody's life. So we don't want to add. So if your product is adding confusion, again, people will not use. If there are a lot of elements in the design in the experience, and instead of focusing on one goal, if you're focusing on multiple goals, you'll end up creating a very bad product. Similarly, inefficient. If it's not solving what it is supposed to solve, again, bad job. Tedious. In order to solve simple problem, if you're making the user do a lot of different things, again, that's wrong. And unnecessary complexity. So the learning here is, the takeaway here is that try to create simple meaningful experience. Okay, so as a designer, try to focus on the need one at a time rather than like solving multiple needs in a go. So these are few points. Again, there could be like many things depending upon the use cases, but at a high level, I think like these are very important points, and you should keep this in mind whenever working on any product or experience. Perfect. So now people get different level of satisfaction. Some people, when using a product, I mean, they feel very bad while using a similar product. Some people feel that is fine, it's kind of like neutral experience that they get, while some people get very good experience. So what are the reasons? What are the reasons why people feel differently, or the level of satisfaction that they get is different? So these are common reasons. So one is, if the user is able to like the product, or if the user likes the product and the service, that's one reason. The second reason is basically, it's not about just liking, it's also about understanding the product. Okay, and then also using the product. These are very simple, I mean, factors, but very important. So make a note of this. So whenever you're building any product, make sure you're building a product which people should like. Okay, and it's not about just liking. As I said, they should also be able to understand what to do and how to do, and then finally use the product. So less learning curve, simple, minimal, to the point, focusing on one thing at a time. Okay, if you can take care of these things, you'll end up building a very good product. Now, and at the end, who puts money and effort on building this product? Business, right? So as a designer, yes, we focus a lot on the user goals, but in parallel, we should also understand what are the business goals and then properly align. And if you're able to deliver good experience by building great experiences and products, so we'll be able to meet the needs of both business and the users. Perfect. So now, since we are talking about user experience and all, so now let's understand, what does a UX designer do? Okay, so what do we do? Let's understand from the beginning. Like, for example, when you're building a product, first thing is basically understanding what is the problem, what are you trying to solve, and why you're creating the product, for whom you're creating the product. Then understanding also the geography. For example, if you're building the product for India, then your focus should be in the users of the India. And then also understanding maybe the technology when building the product, also understanding the competition, right? So those kind of things. So, and also when building or designing the product, you also create UI, you focus on interaction design, you focus on technology, as I said, you focus also on the copy, you also focus on the information architecture, user flows, right? So those kind of things. So now there are a lot of different things that the UX designer do, or like uh, yeah, so these are few of the fields. Okay, so when working on user experience design, so different people work and perform different roles. So again, some focus on the, let's say here, the research. If you see here on the top, it's the research, right? Design research. So that's basically understanding the problem. The other person might be again, depending upon the company, the size, the complexity of the product. If it's a complex product, there might be different people working at different working on different roles. Okay, so some people might be focusing on just the research, other might be focusing on only on the information architecture, somebody could be working as an interaction designer. Industrial design is something else, but again, they're also, they make use of the processes and all. Then there is service design, like the customer experience, customer care, defining that experience, that's the service design. Information design, that is basically understanding the hierarchy and then creating experiences accordingly. Visual design, you already know, like that's the UI. Then there are expert people who work on the branding, because that also plays a very important role. Similarly, technical communication. If your product is technical, or if there is something which is too technical, then how to communicate that effectively in simple words. So those technical communication, then content management system, understanding the human factors, usability engineering, right? So there are so many different things that UX designer work on, right? So in future, if you're, let's say, if you want, I mean, okay, so initially you can start as a journalist. You can focus on all, learn about everything, like for what is human factors, what is content management, branding, visual design. But in future, if you, when growing, you should try and focus on one or two or three of these experiences or these fields, and that will really help you grow, right? So that is what it is. So basically, there are different roles and responsibilities of UX designer depending upon what product you're working on. Some, as I said, might be working as a just a researcher, and then once the research is done, passing on the insights from the research to the next team, right? So that is what we do, I mean, like as a researcher or the designer or the UX person. So there are a lot of different things.